Hey, welcome to the next lesson. We are coming close to the end of the course, but let's talk now about the third very important setting in the camera, which is ISO. ISO is simply amplification of light. So in old cameras, I mean film cameras, ISO was characteristic was a feature of the film itself. So the higher sensitivity of the film and the higher ISO rating, you couldn't change do anything about this. It all depended on the film you put in the camera. With digital cameras, ISO is regulated electronically. So let's say you've got settings, you've got some lighting, but you actually discover that the light that you have is not enough to have the right shutter speed, and everything is blurred. So what can you do about this? You have no way of increasing light for one reason or another, because you don't have a reflector. You cannot use flash, for example. So what can you do? You can actually turn up ISO settings in the camera. So usually the standard ISO setting is 100, so you can turn it up to 200, so it will be the brightness will be amplified by the camera electronics twice, or 400, so 4 times, and so on and so on. Usually compact cameras, they go to 1600 or 3200 ISO. Those cameras, DSLR cameras, they go either to 1600 if they are cheap or old cameras. The new cameras, they go sometimes to even 56,000 ISO. Why don't we actually use ISO? Why don't we set it to 800 or 1600 and take photos all the time with that setting? Well, because there is a consequence of increasing ISO. ISO rating or ISO speed, there are different names for that. The consequence is increased noise. What is noise? Noise is additional, how to say it, like dirt in the picture. So points of the various color and so on and so on. Usually the noise is not very noticeable on the picture when you look at it, when you don't look into detail. So if you look on the screen of your camera, you can't really see the noise, or if you look at the picture on even on your computer screen, if you do not enlarge it, then you cannot see. But if you look at picture 1:1, so one picture of one pixel of the picture is corresponding to one pixel of the screen, then you can see clearly there is a lot of noise. It's the higher the ISO, the more noise, and the more ugly the picture is. So I want you now to experiment. Find a bit darkish place, not necessarily very dark, but in a room when you have a bit of let's say daylight, but it's not very bright. You turn off all the lights and take photos and see what settings your camera suggests, what shutter speed your camera suggests on automatic programs or semi-automatic. So in my camera I would set it to program P. If you have program P, you can set it to program P or to automatic, and see what settings your camera suggests with ISO 100. Observe the shutter speed and the aperture. Then I want you to increase ISO to 200, 400 and 800 and see what different settings your camera suggests. Obviously feel free to take photos and later on compare the results. Now with compact cameras, because they have a smaller sensor, as a consequence of that there is much more noise than on these cameras, on big cameras with big sensors. If you've got a compact, take some pictures with ISO 800 and see what they look like. The same if you've got DSLR. However, with compact cameras generally you will expect much more noise. Obviously technology goes forward, so this camera is now, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. It's not really good for low light photography. The latest Pentax, so I have K10, and the latest one, K5, is at least 10 times better. That's a progress, right? 10 times better at low light photography than this one, at least 10 times. It might be even up to 20 times better. So you can imagine how technology improves. So don't worry if your camera is not handling very well low light. Find maybe another camera, invest into another camera. Now with compact cameras usually the more expensive camera does not guarantee better light, low light performance. With a DSLR usually it does. So let's say if you buy a DSLR for £400-500, you can expect fairly okay low light performance, but if you spend 8, 9, £1,000, you can expect pretty decent low light performance, which means very little noise at ISO even 1600. There will be very little noise. So for example, Pentax K5 at 1600 ISO has got more or less the same noise level as this one at 100 ISO. So around 16 times better low light performance. Again, now go and do your homework. So just to remind you, set different ISO settings and see how the camera changes suggested shutter speeds and aperture, especially shutter speed. Do it with different light settings, but it works best for you. It will work best if you do it in a bit not very bright places, so not direct sunshine, but in a room without too much light. That's when ISO becomes useful. So that's where I want you to take photos, experiment and learn. And I will see you in the next lesson. Thank you.